Hi, everybody. My name is Donald Murphy, and welcome to my podcast. Happy New Year to you. And to state the obvious, I certainly hope very quickly in this new year that you find the job that you want with a company that very much excites you and surrounded by people who bring out the very, very best in you. This episode is an extension of the last episode with career coach JT Hegland. And this is all about reclaiming one's identity, reclaiming confidence, and how CliftonStrengths can come into play with those two things. Some of the things we'll cover in this episode include the fact that layoffs can lead to identity loss and self-doubt, but that confidence is not lost. It just needs to be rediscovered. And after a layoff, your strengths actually remain with you, and they just need a new context now. And the CliftonStrengths provide a language for you to be able to articulate those strengths. My guest today is Jeff Schaller, who spent over 15 years working at Apple in digital content and product systems, helping the company scale global launches, automation, and content workflows with partners like Amazon, Best Buy, Walmart, and Shopify, while supporting localization rollouts in over 200 countries and over 30 languages. He has gained a reputation as a trusted cross-functional partner who brings clarity, drives efficiency, and inspires teams to deliver at scale. Additionally, and importantly, Jeff has a graduate degree in industrial and organizational psychology and has spent years helping people rediscover what's already strong within them through strengths-based development, cross-functional collaboration, and building systems that enable people to thrive. You can find a flavor for that work on his Inner Arc studio on YouTube, and I'll put a link to this in the episode notes. So with that, we'll get on with the episode, and I hope you enjoy it. So welcome to the episode, Jeff. Delighted to have you here. We are going to talk today about uncovering confidence because, as you believe, it's not about rebuilding it. It's just the fact that it was never lost. And so we're going to get into about moving from uncertainty to alignment, one real step at a time. So thank you for being here. The first thing that I did want to say to our listeners is that I did want to emphasize that this podcast is for educational and entertainment purposes only. It is not a substitute for seeking the advice and help of trained professionals, be that a licensed therapist, a medical doctor, or any other qualified professional that you may need to seek out in your job search journey. So just wanted to get that out of the way. Jeff, actually, one of the first questions that I ask every guest is that, you have had a successful career in tech, but when you were a kid, what did you want to be when you grew up?
Great question. So when I was a kid, I wanted to split my week up. So I wanted to be a lawyer on Mondays, a fighter pilot on Tuesdays, and then an artist the rest of the week. So that was my big goal. I'm none of those things.
Well, there's still time. There's still time
Yes.
for reinvention. But I
Go back
love
to law
that.
school. I'm sure they'll bring me in into the Navy. I'm pretty sure, right, to land on aircraft carriers. So.
I love that, how you are parsing up your week. That's great. So there are a lot of people in transition right now. And
Yes.
when a layoff happens, what's really going on underneath that shock? And why does it feel so personal?
Yeah, this is, it's another excellent question. It's about identity loss to some degree, and just the shock of change. And like layoffs don't just affect our day-to-day schedule, but they can affect our sense of self. And I think that's because work is where most of us express who we are. And when that disappears overnight, it's more than a financial loss. It's pretty much an identity shock. And suddenly you wake up without this rhythm that you've known for years, this kind of drum beat. And you start to wonder, was I even good at what I did? Those thoughts, of course, are completely normal. That's something that appears in my mind as well, just like everyone else's. And
yeah, appears in my mind.
What's important to remember is that, you didn't lose your strengths. You just lost the place where you used to use them. And the way you solve problems and connect with people or bring calm to a room, that's still in you. It's just waiting for a new setting. So I like to remember and tell myself, and I tell other people, like, this isn't an ending. It's just a pause between chapters, and all those abilities that you brought here, those are still yours. And now it's about rediscovering where to bring those into the next chapter.
You and I have, spoken prior to, and have had great conversations prior to the recording of this episode. And you often say that our strengths don't disappear in hard times, they just get buried. So, how can somebody begin to, uncover these natural patterns again when confidence feels low?
As you mentioned in the beginning, I personally believe that confidence isn't something we strive towards. It's something that we continually rediscover through self-awareness. And the goal here is to, during this transitional time, reignite your curiosity and look for self-trust. Different than believing that self-trust is some entity in the sky. It's actually right here in your body. So I would say just start small. Start to ask yourself, what still comes naturally to me, even right now in this moment. Maybe it's organizing chaos, fixing small things. For instance, like during this transitional time, I'm doing some house projects, or it could just be like what you're doing. Being a calm friend or anchor that everyone calls, which is what you're doing here. And just to remind again, this is my personal belief. Confidence doesn't come from talking yourself up. It comes from remembering all that evidence from the past. Like, look back on moments when you felt, really proud or alive in your work. Where was that energy? What were you doing? Who were you helping? What part of you was fully engaged in that work? And if it's hard to see in yourself, don't worry. Just ask someone who knows you well. Ask someone, hey, when have you seen me at my best? And their answers will often line up probably with some internal resonance. And those repeated patterns are the clues to uncovering your confidence. Again, you don't have to create new confidence. You just uncover it by noticing what's already been true about you, and just letting that signal get louder again.
Yeah, I love what they say about reaching out to people, because I think the golden rule of being out of work and looking for a job is not to do it alone, and to surround yourself with people. And while you've been, head down in a job, you may not have continued to build your network of career professionals, but if you look around, you'll know that they're there, and reaching out to that kind of first concentric circle of people in your direct life, and then former colleagues, and those former colleagues will open up you up to even more people. And the other thing I want to pick up on too which is something you said earlier, which is, when you're in a job and you're working really hard, and one day you're in the job and your eyebrows deep in it, and the next day you're on a Zoom call being let go, and productivity just comes to a grinding halt. But it is great. It is good to remind yourself that, okay, I don't have the job today as I had yesterday, but there was a ton of stuff on my to-do list, like house projects and the like, and I'm like, okay, well, I can turn myself to those and continue to still feel that level of productivity. So I really concur. We've talked about confidence. Certainly, weaknesses do not elicit confidences, and most of us have been taught to fix our weaknesses. What changes when we start focusing on what's already working? What can we do in that regard of focusing on strengths as opposed to weaknesses?
Yeah, this is a great moment for me personally. A few years ago, I worked with a career coach, um, and Bonnie. She's amazing. She was the one that told me, "Hey, you should really focus on your strengths and know your weaknesses, but don't worry about them anymore." And I thought,
Hmm.
wait a minute, you can do that? And
Wait a minute. I've been told the opposite
actually,
my entire life.
yeah, it took about a year, and so for this to kind of even sink in. So I remember to answer your question, it just suddenly I was like had this sense of calm, like, oh, I can just work on my strengths. So, I think maybe the problem is that we really do grow up, at least in our society, uh, being graded on our mistakes, and
Right.
we're measured.
Right.
Yeah, we're measured. Yeah, right. We're measured by what's missing. And so that lens becomes part of our programming. It's pretty automatic. So, but what Bonnie was telling me is if you only look at your flaws, you really forget what's working. So
Mm-hmm.
to answer your question, yeah, when you shift to strengths, you start getting that energy we were talking about instead of losing it. You start to ask things like, where can I do my best work, rather than how do I hide what I'm bad at, which
Yeah.
takes a lot more energy.
Yeah, and I think it's also just coming to a point where putting your hand up and saying, I'm not good at that. Um, and I, as of this recording, am out of work following a layoff. And as I've been interviewing and people have been asking me questions, I'm just taking a very honest approach. I'm just like, I'm not good at strategy. For the longest time, I wish I was, but I'm very, very good at execution. And so I've started to lean more into just owning up to what I'm not good at and what I'm good at. And if in the context of strategy, if you're looking for a strategist, I'm not your guy. If you're looking for somebody who can execute flawlessly and get a project over the line, I'm your guy. And that is so liberating. It's so liberating to finally, for me personally, just to say, these are my strengths. Going to lean into those, and these are not what I'm good at, and they're for somebody else on the team to make their contribution. So I love that. And again, I love my dad dearly, and I owe him a ton. But as you were just talking about how we're kind of taught or programmed to focus on our weaknesses. Anytime that I brought home a really good grade, let's say I got 85, 90% in a test, he'd always say, what happened to the other 10%? uh, and I'm like, wah
Wah,
wah.
wah.
And then, and I think that's just so indicative of society. It's just, to your point, is we don't get the clap on the back necessarily for the job well done or the skills that we have. And it's in every, annual performance review. It's like, what are you going to work on? What weaknesses are you going to improve for the next 12 months? And maybe it's a
Yeah.
different conversation. It's like, okay, we recognize you're not good at that stuff. So let's put you in a place where we can assure your success by leaning into your strengths. So anyway, I
Yeah.
love that you share that perspective.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Again, it took me about a year for this to even sink in. And I appreciate you sharing that, because when someone kind of reinforces that viewpoint, it's super draining, because trying to fix weaknesses just pulls the energy out. What Bonnie told me was that, and what Don Clifton talks a lot about, is focusing on our strengths. If you want to think about it in a different way, it actually can 5x or 10x your productivity, which is kind of weird.
Mm-hmm.
So working through our strengths, actually identifying our weaknesses, figuring out who should be on our team to help do that portion of what we're not so great at, will actually 5 or 10x everybody's productivity. So, and that current's going to take you way faster. Like imagine trying to swim upstream versus letting the current carry you.
Yeah.
Same water, just a different direction.
Yeah. Prepping for this episode, I think you really wanted to make sure that we emphasized in this episode that discovering your strengths doesn't magically find you a new job overnight.
Yeah.
And in terms of strengths, and we're going to probably touch on in this episode, which is CliftonStrengths, which is something that you're very, very familiar with and have leaned into very, very heavily. And I've also taken the CliftonStrengths assessment many times, and yet, knowing my strengths and what they are hasn't landed me a job, but it actually keeps me focused on, the jobs that I should be applying to that capitalize on that. So, but anyway, what is, why is that honesty important, that it won't necessarily find you a job overnight? And how does it help people build something more sustainable in the long term?
Such an important question. And yeah, I did want to emphasize that exactly because real growth takes a lot of time. I mean, when you hit the gym and trying to build some muscle,
right,
it doesn't happen after one workout session. It takes a year. So, and it's about consistency. So, because of that time horizon, knowing your strengths can help you right now by helping bring clarity, like you said, and then okay, that's a poor role fit. Like, there are just some roles for me that might pay well, but I wouldn't do well. So I should skip those because I know those are mostly in my weaknesses category or less strength. So just that discovering our strengths doesn't solve everything instantly, but it gives you long-term clarity. It's like finally having a map. I think about the London Underground map because the London, tube system is very confusing. That map though is so beautifully done. So it's like having one of those maps. You know how to get from one station to another. You still have to walk or take the tube, but now you know which direction you're going. And during a job search, that clarity, it keeps you from wasting energy on any of these paths that aren't right. You can say like, that role looks great on paper, but it would probably drain me. That environment would bring out the best in me. I should really pursue this company and this culture, things like that. So the strengths work is about alignment and not speed.
Yeah. And kind of piggybacking on that is, once people know what energizes them, how can they get comfortable owning what doesn't, and then start partnering with or delegating more intentionally with people who, might have a complementary, strength set? And that probably also, sorry to interrupt, but that probably also works in one's personal life, in relationships, marriages, friendships, parenting. But anyway.
Yeah, knowing one's energy clusters or strengths, however you want to call it, is it's very humbling. And the key is honesty and just embracing that humility, because even though we might believe this subconsciously, we're not meant to do everything well. That's why we have teams. That's why corporations exist. And the best leaders or someone like yourself, the best collaborators I've met, don't actually pretend to be superhuman, because oftentimes that leads to micromanagement, because again, all that energy is being spent trying to track or do things. The non-micromanagers are the ones that are humble. They know their lane, and then they build teams that balance around them. So for me, like, I'm great at ideas, but not necessarily details. It depends, but you know what I mean? Like,
we should start a company together.
Seriously, right? I know
Because I'm
You got
like,
the details.
yeah, I'm like, your idea, I'll execute your idea. Just come up with the idea. I'll do it.
Oh, I love starting projects, but then I gotta finish them. If you like finishing them, then we're good.
Oh, I love checking the box. So we'll talk offline
All
about a business idea.
it is amazing to see being in the group that you and I are part of to see how much experience people have, and you could see people building teams around all those different skill sets. But but in a sense, like admitting that you even have a weakness, that's wisdom. It's a well earned wisdom, and it's really freeing. And you can then say, "Here's where I'm strong, and here's where I need backup." Just like you said,
Yeah,
and even in healthy relationships and stuff, like I actually really love doing dishes.
me
Surprisingly,
too. Me
I
too.
love doing yeah. I don't mind unloading the dishwasher. And for a while, my partner and she and I kind of fought over it. But then I had to admit, actually, I do like cleaning things. So I took that role on, and now our relationship's a lot healthier. I know if there's a dishwasher to be emptied, then I will do it, and then
Yeah,
there's no more struggle over that. So
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
I love that. I love that simple example. Um, let's then get into, because we've touched upon it. Let's get into CliftonStrengths.
Yes.
And your knowledge, deep knowledge of this particular arena and assessment. So, and there is real science behind this assessment. And so, for somebody hearing about this for the very first time, what will they actually learn from seeing what their top five is, or seeing where they kind of their profile lays out across, I think there's 34 themes or strengths, 34 strengths, and then that's organized into four different themes. So can you go into a little bit about what CliftonStrengths is and taking the assessment and the learnings that can be had?
Totally. It There's so many different things we can say about it, but for those people who are interested, first of all, just know that it's a short online assessment.
Mm-hmm.
So it takes about half an hour to 40 minutes. And what it does is it gives you context and words to figure out what you're naturally good at. What do you
Mm-hmm.
naturally do well? Um, Don Clifton, again, was a highly trained psychologist. And he learned, just like other areas of psychology, that there are 34 energetic clusters that most people resonate towards. And his goal, though, and I think this is the most important piece, he said, the question he asked was, what if we studied what's right with people instead
Mm-hmm.
of what's wrong?
Mm-hmm.
And that radical question uh, shaped this test. So now we're focusing on what's right with people. And so the assessment looks at 34 ways people naturally think and work, like problem solving, empathy, focus, creativity, communication, you name it. And it identifies your top five. Um, so those areas where your energy and your potential are the strongest. And I would be curious to ask you this question, because most people who read their report, they feel really seen. They say things like, that's me. I can feel the chills because when I took the test and I read it, I was like, oh, that is me. I have always done that, and I just didn't have words for it. And so in that sense, I want to help people understand that it's not a personality test.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Mm-hmm.
a language for your strengths.
Right.
And once you have that language, you can describe your value very clearly, like in interviews or on teams, or even in the home, like we were talking about.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. And I've taken the CliftonStrengths three times, the assessments three times throughout my career. What I think is really amazing about this assessment is that it's very consistent. And from the first time I took it 15 or 20 years ago to most recently took it again because I also worked with a career coach. There was consistency. It was just my strengths haven't changed, and I'll just share that my top five are consistency, achiever, empathy, harmony, and developer. And so I'm very much in the relationship theme and also in the execution theme. If you take a look at my top 10, it's very much I am dominant in execution and relationship building. And to answer your question, I just lean back on this word of it's just liberating. Just the fact that it's like, oh, okay. And it wasn't necessarily surprising because when I work with my career coach and she's, even though I had taken the assessment before and we redid it, she's like, how do you feel? I'm like, that's me. And
Yeah.
it feels really affirming that, okay, this is me. I'm nobody else. And I can start leaning into these strengths and showing up with more intentionality, I think, too, not only in my career, but also in my life, to be like, okay, I'm all about getting things done, and I'm all about building relationships and making people feel kind of seen and heard and appreciated and accepted. And so let me lean into that. The other thing that I want to say about CliftonStrengths too, Jeff, is that I know that people who are listening to this are between jobs and maybe thinking, well, I don't, I've got to spend my money on things that I need to spend, not, nice haves. But the CliftonStrengths assessment is cheap. And it's like, it's $20 bucks. I think if you want to get a full access to like your entire 34 strengths, I think it's 50. I don't know, but
50, I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah, we're not talking about thousands of dollars here to take the assessments. It is very inexpensive.
Because Don Clifton wanted to make it accessible to everybody.
People can Google this, but how do people find where to take the assessment?
CliftonStrengths.com, I believe. Okay. But yes, just Google search it. And it will come up. It's through. It's owned by Gallup now.
Yeah.
So the Gallup CliftonStrengths is the right site.
Right. So when people start living then from their strengths, what changes have you seen in their leadership, in their relationships, even their sense of purpose? You've also taken CliftonStrengths and you know what your strengths are. So how have you seen it in yourself and how have you seen it in others that you've worked with?
Yeah, to start to kind of wrap to what we're talking into the beginning, for me personally, living and working in alignment with my strengths has uncovered my confidence and has brought this incredible ease. So I think the biggest change for me is just like relief. And I think for most people as well, like you were talking about, you can actually see it. Like people sort of start breathing differently. They stop apologizing for who they are.
Yeah. I think
when you understand your strengths, you're like, oh, this is me. And I'm really good at this and I'm going to keep working at this. I'm not going to keep trying to fit into every box.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, yeah, I started focusing on, like you and I were talking about, what lights me up. And I found that I had more energy. My results are getting better. And I do believe that like teams really benefit from this as well. For the scientists out there, you were talking about in our last question, how accurate is this test? Well, it turns out it's a 0.7 correlation over a 10-year period. That's ridiculously high in the correlation market. And to kind of like, to wrap that back, like people working on their strengths just start to notice that their performance also leads to great peace. Work starts to feel more human again. And I feel like, at least for me, like I end my day tired, and fulfilled and not drained. It's a different kind of feeling. So,
I'm curious, did you take the assessment because it was offered by your employer, or did you take it because you just, you felt like you wanted to know more about yourself in order to apply that to your life and your job? And the reason that I ask this is that I've taken the assessment numerous times, and a couple of times was offered by my employer. But the disappointing thing that I experienced was that I felt like it was a human resource kind of check the box approach, and it was not until I took it with my career coach and kind of really leaned into the understandings of that did I really feel like I gained the benefit of it now to take forward. So as I look for a job and look for the right kind of environment and company, I would love to join a company that really has CliftonStrengths at its kind of anchors it in order to get the best out of people and to create teams. So again, feel like I'm blabbing on here, but
no.
did you was it through a company, or was it just something that you chose to pursue yourself?
First of all, Bonnie was my assigned coach while I was at Apple as a manager there, and she's a strength-based coach. But what's interesting is she didn't. It was very subtle. It dawned on me after we were done with our year of coaching, and so I actually took it on my own. Again, it was just like a really slow bubbling up into my conscious mind, and I'm with you. I am glad it wasn't. No offense to anyone in human resources. I'm glad it wasn't a top down thing. It came from having a really great coach like you did, and then taking on my own. And almost instantly I was like, felt free. So now I can see people taking it, and depending on the context of how it was taken, it maybe would be less meaningful. I would encourage you though, even if you took it in that context, the top down context, go back and look at it. It won't change. The one time you took it will still be your top five. I'm going to say high probability will be your top 5 10 years from now. So that top 10 is probably not going to change at all. Take another look at it and start that process of if you find your top 5, just work on your top 2. Just be like, okay, what books could I read? Who could I talk to about this? Again, just like lifting weights or running or anything else, it's just about consistently learning about your strength and then building it out.
Yeah. Before we move away from CliftonStrengths, I'm curious if you'd be willing to share what your top 5 strengths are.
Absolutely. I had them up just in case that came up. So mine, if we look at the 4 domains of CliftonStrengths, you had mentioned, you had a perfect segue into this. So there's executing things, like getting things done. There's influencing themes, helping people come along, relationship building, which you're really good at, and then strategic thinking. My main cluster is in strategic thinking. So my top, and then executing. So my top 5 are strategic, ideation, learner, achiever, and relator. So I have 1 in the relationship category in my top 5, but mostly strategic.
Okay, as I said, let's talk offline about starting a business. You'll be the idea guy. I'll be the guy executing.
Oh man, the ideas come to me endlessly. It's like it's very strange.
So getting to the end here. Last possible question is, so for somebody listening who's anxious about what's next, and a layoff is a very anxious experience. Even job insecurity, or even your getting back into the workforce after a period of stepping out of it intentionally. It can be an anxious time. What's one small step that someone could take this week, this day, as they're listening to this episode, to reconnect with their strengths and begin to uncovering that confidence again?
This relates back to something you and I were talking about the other day, and I want to start with being really gentle with yourself, because you're gonna, depending on how you grew up, and what the experiences you had were like as a kid or in your previous employer. Again, starting with being gentle is really important, because you're gonna have to start to, if you want to go down this pathway, you will unwind some things that might be a little bit, hard to look at first, but you'll have so much freedom on the other side that it's worth doing. So, like you and I were talking about, like just take 5 minutes. You can set a timer on your phone of quiet, 5 minutes of quiet, just to yourself. Find some space. It could be in your car if you need space from the kids or something like that. And think of one moment in your life where you felt really proud and useful and just simply alive. Maybe it was at work. It could have just been at home, and any space you can think of that you felt just really energized. That would be it. And then ask yourself this question: what was I doing, and why did it feel good? Those two questions. And once you kind of have that gentle moment, that's a clue. That's when you can start to follow that energy. And then look for a small way to use that same ability again during the week. Maybe you want to help someone. Maybe like you and I are talking about, it's about starting a project. Like I like starting a project, or offering an idea, or volunteering. It doesn't have to be big. And it just is a small start towards that, cascading towards your strengths. And remember that your strengths are the current that push you. It's actually almost like catching wind in a sail. It doesn't have to start big, but you do want to start somewhere. So you need to open your sail, or turn around and be like, I'm gonna let the current carry me.
Yeah.
But it's actually really freeing. So
yeah. I love that. I love that analogy of the wind catching your sail. Well, Jeff, I can't thank you enough for coming on and sharing your expertise in and around confidence building and strengths and the CliftonStrengths assessment. I know that you're doing work in this domain, and how can people get a flavor for what it is that you're doing?
You're welcome to, if you want to check out any of the YouTube episodes I've been working on. They help you understand more deeply what the CliftonStrengths are. You can find it on YouTube at InnerArc, although there are a bunch of InnerArc channels, there's like 6 of them. So click through them until you find the one on CliftonStrengths.
Okay.
And if not, reach out to myself or Donald. We're happy to talk to you about it. Or if you want more professional coaching on this, for instance, I can recommend Bonnie, so on and so forth.
Yeah.
There are just amazing people out there who understand this journey really well. And ask around, or if you want more language for it, of course, take the CliftonStrengths test. $20 for your top 5. And that awareness is the first step.
Yeah. Well, great. Well, thank you, Jeff. This has been fantastic, and we'll talk soon.
All right. Thanks, Donald. I really appreciate it.
Take care. Cheers.
Take care.